where secrets hide. In Tampa Street, she seeks out lies. With a sharp eye, she'll reveal the truth. Justice calls and she pursues. From county jails to hallowed courts, she finds truth where they distort. Fearless heart and mind so keen, Sam unravels tangled seams. The truth is buried deep in files. Fairness is what they try to hide, but Sam prevails. She's got your back. With grit and grace, she never lacks. Uncover lies and play no games. From jails to halls where verdicts lay. Truth her compass, come what may. Footsteps echo in the night. She chases justice with the light. A warrior for justice for all. She won't stop when she hits a wall. Florida P.I. Sam is her name. Uncover lies and play no games. From jails to halls where verdicts lay. Truth her compass, come what may. Uncover lies, play no games. From jails to halls where verdicts lay. Truth her compass, come what may. From jails to halls where verdicts lay. Truth her compass, come what may.
Hello, good evening. It's good to see you guys. Sorry for my fantastic hair. It's Saturday, October 4th already. We're coming up on a year of this channel. It's crazy. It's good to see you guys. I see that Susie is back and Barry Adams hasn't been here in a minute. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Great Gams. Good to see you. Of course, Squeegee is here to troll me because he can't get enough. Hello, Karen Cole. It's nice to see you. Hi, Laura. Hi, guys. Hi, Kate Tally Pit Love. Oh, boy. Yeah. October 5th already in England. Yeah, you stay up late, don't you, Karen, to see me. I appreciate it. I hope everyone's doing well. I don't have anything planned for this evening because, hi TJ, welcome. Because a judge is holding my life hostage at the moment. So work has been a little crazy because of that. If this judge decides to go ahead with trials as scheduled, then we pick a jury October 29th and another one on December 1, and both are DP trials. So, yes, Squeegee, I do know you have questions. Hey, Kelly. So, I'm kind of waiting to find out, like, what thing do I work on? And the case I'm most interested in working on is, hi, Cindy Stovall. It's nice to see you. I'm sorry you were up there earlier. The case I'm most interested in working on is the Julio Fulio one. And that's all I want to work on. Like everybody else, I'm not interested. I'm just so interested in, I love pop culture. And so, so that case is fascinating to me, and I really want to spend all my time just sort of deep diving that to no one's benefit but my own. So, anyway, that is how things are going. Henry made an appearance. Lately, what he's been doing, and if anyone is new here, Henry is my cat. He likes to bite me when I don't give him his way. Um, Lately, what he does is as soon as I end the stream, he comes out from wherever he's been, and he showed up just a few minutes ago. Okay, so yes, I promised you guys questions. And I see that Barry Adams is back and wants to be first. So, all right, why does it feel like prosecutors and judges are on the same plane when judges and prosecutors are supposed to be on different trees and different apples? Are you mixing your metaphors, sir? Are we just going to be here to troll me tonight? Is that I'll start talking about Taylor Swift. Yeah, the it's just so interesting, I guess, when you get something that is a little bit out of the ordinary. So Barry, I don't know what is. I'm concerned that I don't understand what you're trying to say, except that like the judges should be here and the prosecutors should be here and the defense should be here, and it should sort of be this triangle, right? And it doesn't seem that way a lot of times. And I agree with you, and I'm kind of concerned about why that seems to be happening less and less. The sort of separation of things. And I also am concerned that, yes, Kelly, they do seem to favor the prosecution a ton. Um, I'm concerned that the judges seem to just kind of do what they feel like doing and not so much like what they should be doing or what I thought they should be doing. I don't know. Maybe the rules of procedure have changed since I went to law school, and maybe I just need to update myself. Um, yeah, so Barry says yes, the triangle, but maybe because a lot of prosecutors work in the same courts with the same judges because yeah, maybe. Yeah, so I'll say this because I always forget. It'd be great if you hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed here, I would love for you to. I usually have some kind of content to bring to you. This one, you get to bring me content. And if you don't have any, then I guess we can all just go look for something else to watch. There's like nothing on television right now. Kelly says, is there a prejudice or snobbery with judges towards public defenders? I don't know. I don't work for public defenders. The attorneys I work for are private defense attorneys that are court appointed. So a lot of judges, I think I've explained this before, a lot of people start out in prosecution, either the prosecutor's office or the defense office. Words are failing me. Shocker. Public defender. Because if you do 10 years of good time, which means you make your student loan payments, then your loans are forgiven if you work in public service. So a lot of attorneys start out there. Doesn't mean that they're bad attorneys. And if you want to hear my soapbox on that, go back, not the last stream, but the one before. Thank you, Great Gams, for liking this stream. Karen Cole says judges may appear to favor the prosecution due to subconscious biases from their own past experiences with the prosecutors. Entirely possible. I was surprised to find out that the judge in the Sunnyvale trial had been a criminal defense attorney at one point because he didn't seem that unbiased to me, but maybe I'm the one with the bias. How was Taylor Swift? Yeah, so I did I did go to the little like album premiere thing last night with my friend who got married in France last year and who I went to Taylor Swift in Paris with, and she was had just come back from Japan, so she brought me this, and it was fun, but it actually honestly made me really really sad, because the whole point of me like I was never a Swiftie. It was all about like I wanted to go to the tour, like I wanted to see that show, and just like it was 9 months between when I knew I was going and then actually going, and that was so much fun. Like the planning and the preparation, the lead up was great. So it kind of made me a little sad, and I was like, could we go back before you got married? I don't think she wants that, but I enjoyed it, and I always like to see my friend. So what percentage do judges see the same prosecutors versus defense more? Um, I wish I had Scotty. He could probably answer more of these better than I can. So I believe that there are, if I am not mistaken, there will be prosecutors and defense public defenders assigned to a particular courtroom for a while or a division. So all incoming cases for Hillsborough County, Tampa, Florida, where I am, they start out in Division O before they are pushed out to another lettered division. And so then we may have like one judge leading up to trial, sometimes for years, and then it'll push the case up into a trial division. One I've got now that the judge doesn't want to sentence because he wasn't the trial judge. He's sent it back down to a non-trial division for a retrial. There's changes going on in our in this circuit, I guess, and it's because the prosecution is not handing out, wouldn't say handing out, but they're not negotiating pleas as often. So they're wanting more cases to go to trial. And that's also why we're kind of in limbo. And I'm not in the best of moods because of that. Because of the two cases that are set, the one for 24 days from now, with what seems like an impossible amount of discovery that we all just kind of kept pushing forward. The one after that, that's set for December 1, he's been in jail waiting to go to trial since 2018. Just because you waive your right to a speedy trial doesn't mean you should be sitting in county jail for 7 years waiting to go to trial. K. Telly Pit Love. Okay, so hold on. Alexis, are you able to star any of these questions for me so that I don't have to scroll backwards on the chat? Or are you doing that and I'm in the wrong place? Okay, hold on. Let me change over to this screen. I like to read you guys on my bigger screen, but I'll pull you back over here so I'm not scrolling twice. Okay, so the judge in my last case appeared he was not cool with the public defender. Yeah, I thought he was rude to her too. So Kelly is referring to the public defender, Jennifer Spradley. She was also, if you note, the only female besides me on the defense team, and I thought he was rude to her as well. And I really liked her and I admired her because she did not let him phase her at all. So Great Game says, why are there so many plea deals with so many criminals lately? Okay, so I think the opposite is happening here. They have to. The truth of the matter is they have to, right? The system moves so slow right now as it is because at least in this state, the one thing COVID did shut down was the court system. Like you couldn't have jury trials. So and you couldn't do jury trials over Zoom, although I do think they resumed doing some civil trials during that time. But like we couldn't go to the jails. And so for me, like I can do a virtual visit with someone, but because I'm not an attorney, it's not confidential. Whereas if I go to the jail, it is confidential, and we couldn't go to the jails. So it slowed everything down. And yeah, I understand that, that was 5 years ago. But when you take an already sluggish system and you backlog it for at least a year, and then here they have stopped, um, in my circuit, there are fewer and fewer pleas, and we're stacking trials, and it's becoming a problem. And they've also had to open up an entire wing of, like, a new section of the Falkenberg Road jail to house all the juveniles. So, to some extent, it has to happen. You can't take everyone to trial. There's just no possible way we'd ever get through the cases that absolutely have to go to trial, such as the DP cases or capital felonies. So, hopefully, that will answer that question to whatever extent. You guys, I don't know what I did to my StreamYard. So, Kate Telly Pitlove says, do you remember the very first live you did with the guy who said he was locked out of the house and that the wife unalived herself with a knife? I think that's going back to trial. Actually, so I'm so glad you mentioned that, Kate Telly. That was Ellen Greenberg, and I did a 7-week series on Ellen back in the winter. And there's a Hulu special now on a docuseries on Hulu. Nancy Grace has written a book. Vinnie Politan has covered her case. But the more attention drawn to that case, the better, because her family's been fighting for 14 years. So if anyone's interested in that, I did a 7-week series on it. And it cost me dearly with YouTube because they don't like it when you talk about not just the unaliving, but the self-unaliving. And which this was, that did not happen. But please feel free to go back and watch my series. I appreciate it. Let's see. Were you in Watch Hill? Barry Adams says, my friend lives next door to her in Watch Hill Zoos. Okay, I do not know. Chris, Squeegee, did you tell Barry Adams to come on here and troll me in your place tonight? Because I don't know what he's talking about. Let's see. Yes, be careful with wording. I have had several, because of that, several videos restricted because of the Ellen Greenberg. Do I face the same judge for every trial? Well, I hope not. No, no. Judges get rotated in and out of criminal court. I think they do that in all the circuits in Florida. Some retire, some leave the bench and go into private practice. One trial judge, Judge Sabella, moved up to be the chief judge, so that took him out of trying cases. They took one judge that I had the same case in front of twice, so twice in 4 years. He retired. Or wait, did he retire in between? I don't remember. So no, but there are only certain trial divisions. And like I said, they're getting ready to restructure it all here. And I didn't catch the way that was going to happen. But judges rotate, and it's sort of it's hard on the criminal courts when judges who have only sat civil cases come up into criminal, because the criminal division is very different than civil. And if you've ever watched a civil trial, and the most famous one I can currently think of is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That was a civil trial, but it wasn't in Florida, and my knowledge is pretty limited to Florida. So judges rotate. It just happens that right now I have the same judge for 3 cases. Do I know? Let's see. Alex A., welcome. Do you know any reason why Florida allows the public and media to know so much about trials? Yes, we are more friendly on some things than other states. It's called the Sunshine Law. So we have a very liberal public records law here in Florida, the Sunshine Statutes, even our, I think the site to go on to look at our statutes is called Online Sunshine. So it's in our Florida Constitution that we have very open public record laws here, and so yeah, that's how we are able to get more. Although I was really surprised, um, like I think I walked out of the courtroom one day and I got a text message from Trial TV Live or Alexis, and they're like, "Hey, where'd you go?" And I'm like, "Why are the cameras still on? Like, why are you watching me walk out to lunch or whatever right now?" So I was surprised at how liberal they were with the feed, but I've only seen snippets. Larry says, "I remember those welcome cats from my time in Japan. They usually have one in every business. I forget the meaning. One paw represents bringing luck, one money, both. I can't remember luck and money. I don't know, but I could use both, and I think it's super cute. And yeah, I thought that was very sweet. She didn't have to lug something back from Japan because I went and picked something up from her house while she was out of town. Does facing the same judge over multiple cases help or hurt your case? I know they're supposed to be neutral, but can you talk about this? So I'm going to give everybody's favorite legal answer, which is I think it depends. Remember, guys, I'm not the one are in front of the judge, right? You saw me because it was a weird set of circumstances. I was just talking to Squeegee and Trial TV Live, and I don't know that if my trial, I know that some of my trials going that are set right now, I know they're going to stream. I know you're going to see my friend Scotty because he's a lawyer. I usually sit at the defense table. The way that the trial that just finished, which was the unaliving of Sunny Bell, which if you have questions, comments, or are curious about Trial TV Live, did stream the trial. I was there every day. And then last week, I don't know if it was last week because I've lost my mind, but my last stream, the Squeegee of Justice came on and we went through everything together. So that's what I'm talking about. So what happened was we were in the biggest courtroom in the Hillsborough County Courthouse, or the Circuit Court, excuse me, because we had 5 people being tried at the same time. So we had 5 lawyers plus Scotty, so that was 6. 2 investigators. Billy Lane was there with Brian Gonzalez. You could see the back of Billy's head the whole time. And then I happened to, we had nothing to do with the way the courtroom, the way they laid out the defense tables. So the bailiffs weren't expecting Scotty, they weren't expecting Billy, they weren't expecting me. And so they had to sort of jigsaw puzzle us all in. And I ended up next to my client, which I think was the bailiffs wanted easy access to him. And then you could see me, I'm at a little mini table. That was a fluke. Like it could end up that you never see me again. So that is to say that I think for some attorneys, yeah, I mean, they get to know the quirks of the judges. To answer your question, sorry, I went off in a direction. They get to know the judges, but I think it can be hurtful because when a judge and an attorney take a disliking to one another, I don't know that all judges are always fair, and can be kind of punitive because of that. And I guess you could say the reverse is true, is, they could be favorable to a person that they do like. You just don't, you never know. I'm not usually the one that has to deal with the judge. My work is done before trial, and then I show up because I'm there sort of in a support role, if you will. I usually have, well, I always have all the discovery plus all of my own work product. And so I'm supposed to be able to produce things quickly. And so, for example, Nick asked a question about fireworks. There were fireworks in some of the video clips, but not the one he was referring to. And I didn't know that because he didn't make it clear enough for me to understand. So there was that confusion. Like, he asked me a question in passing. It was from a different camera that you could see fireworks. So there's logistics, and where I end up logistically is going to be different. And the attorneys are the ones that are dealing with the judges all the way up from, the beginning, dealing with the motions and the pretrial hearings and all the different things like that. I show up in court at the end usually. I've gone to some here. Sometimes I'll go to a hearing, but not so much anymore. So let's see. Yeah, I agree. Squeegee, to Barry, there does have to be some bond. Does the prosecutor have to reveal here? Okay, Alexis is starring these. Thank you. Although I made my thing so. Oh my God. No, StreamYard and I are not friends. Okay, does the prosecutor have to reveal to the media or the public whether or not they made a plea deal to a defendant, or are they bound by attorney-client privilege just as the defendant's lawyer is? Does the prosecutor... I mean, it goes on, it's part of the public record. So at least here it is. You will you go and see whether a case has been adjudicated or not, and it'll say whether it went to jury trial, whether there was a bench trial, whether they pleaded nolo contendere, they pled guilty, and to what, and what the sentence is. It all ends up here in the public realm. What happens a lot is that if you have multiple co-defendants, some will do what we refer to, and by we, I don't mean all lawyers in the state of Florida. I'm talking about my very small circle. They will plead open, which means they say, okay, I'm going to plead guilty to this reduced charge for substantial cooperation, which means I'm going to testify against all the others or one other co-defendant, and I agree to not be sentenced until I see the outcome of my substantial cooperation. And if the prosecution doesn't think you've substantially cooperated, i.e. told the truth, then you have pled open, which means that you've not negotiated to a certain term. It's subject to an outcome. So but here, yeah, I mean, all of that is disclosed. Is it disclosed to the jury? Yeah, I think that the defense can bring that out. You agreed to cooperate with the state in exchange for your cooperation here today. I feel like we hear that a lot, right? Okay. StreamYard and I are just not, we're not, oh, there we go. Okay. It seems like I have quite a lot of DP cases recently. Is this normal? So I can go for, I think I went for like 2 years. I had a federal double M trial, and then I didn't have another, and that was, it was capital, but it wasn't DP. I have cases, I've had smaller cases go to trial that I haven't been to because they don't need me. Trying to think. So I've got this one that should have been tried years ago, right? Like I said, he's been sitting in jail for 7 years. And then the other one that's supposed to go this month is from 2022. And then they fast-tracked the Julio Folio case. And that was a judge's decision. A different judge, but a judge. They fast-tracked that for April. The last one I had decided that he would not sit for the guilt phase. Like he just pled guilty, but he still had to be, they still had to have the second phase or the mitigation phase, and they just did that in front of a judge. So no, not necessarily, but I don't know that there's anything normal. Have I ever been involved in a multiple jury trial? No, I have not. And that could have been a consideration for the one that's supposed to go this month. That was that could have been a possibility. It's not. I don't know that we do a lot of dual juries here, or more than one jury. I have to think about that, whether I've seen that or not. So let's see. Every trial we watch, chat asks, were they offered a plea deal? Can I talk about how and why a plea deal occurs? So the defense can approach the prosecution and say, do you have an offer? And the prosecution can come back and say XYZ. And there can be a bit of negotiating that happens between the state and the defense. Remember, because I'm in Florida, there are assistant state's attorneys, so we don't call them district attorneys here. I just refer to them as the state. So my language is very specific to Florida. If you're talking about a federal case, they're attorney generals. And so the answer is sometimes this state will make an offer on a case preemptively. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes the offer is conditioned, like, okay, so for example, in a juvenile SA case, I remember that we got to a point where it was like, well, if we depose the juvenile in question, all pleas are off the table. There will be none. You will go to trial. And then the a lot of times the defendant really wants to take the case to trial because they've convinced themselves that they're going to win at trial, get a not guilty verdict, and they're listening to the other inmates, who, if the other inmates were so smart, they wouldn't be inmates. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Although, if you've been here, you know I am a believer in wrongful convictions, and Florida has a terrible rate of wrongful convictions. So that is not just, and I'm big on presumption of innocence. So again, I'd refer you back 2 streams ago. Can I talk about, did I answer that last question? I don't even know if I did. Can I talk about the percentage of defendants I've been involved with that were clearly guilty but still went to trial? It seems like often the defendants have overwhelming evidence. They do, and they're in denial. And they absolutely will not listen. And what I was going to say about that is, so in Florida, we have statutory sentencing. So it's a score sheet, it's guidelines, it's a mathematical worksheet. And if you go way back in my streams, when I first started streaming, I give you an actual sentencing score sheet. Like, I have provided and presented all of these documents before. So it's there, but there's a mathematical worksheet, so you can see what somebody scores out to. It's like a mathematical score. So I likened it to where you get points on your driver's license, and the more points you get from tickets, then the closer you are to losing your license. And so that'll be called like the guidelines here. And for example, for those of you who watch Sarah Boone, her bottom of the guidelines was 27 years, and she refused a plea deal because she was in denial and not quite all there, as we know all too well. And the evidence is overwhelming, and they don't understand what can come in. And the other thing they don't understand is, if they take things to trial and they refuse an offer, then they are subject to statutory sentencing. So if you go to trial, and you are found guilty, then there's, for example, in the Sunny Bell case, it's mandatory life. There's no room for anything other than mandatory life for the top charge, which was capital first degree. I'm going to be careful with my words because, as Laura keeps reminding me, I'm getting myself dinged for not being careful with my words. So by taking a plea, sometimes what that means is they'll reduce it from, say, a first degree or second degree down to a manslaughter. See? And that carries a different sentencing scheme with it. So judges, sometimes we explain it to the defendant as judges' hands are tied. If the jury finds you guilty, they have no choice but to sentence you to this. And we provide the jury instructions and the sentencing and all the things so that they understand, like, there's no wiggle room here. It's not up to a judge to decide on a sentence depending on the case, on what your charges are. So often, if there is overwhelming evidence and I've had a number of cases start out saying, "Oh, I want to go to trial," and as the days click by in county, they finally are like, "Okay, well, what is the state offering?" So we go to the state, and again, the lawyers do that. I'm an investigator. I'm an analyst more than anything. I'm not out there poking around because everything's caught on digital anymore. Sometimes I go and I try to talk sense into them because, like, I will go and I will show them all the video evidence against them. I will show them the extraction of their phones. They don't understand what there is. So my job can be to go out there and take their statements, or I guess sort of get their version of the story. I have a case right now that I've talked about a little bit. It's in a different county, and it's against a kid who turned 15 the first time I met him in county jail. And he's like, I did the first part, which was to steal a firearm off of a security guard at Publix who seemed to be armed for a war. And I've never even seen an armed security guard at a Publix before, but okay. But he didn't. He's like, we were watching the interrogation video, I think, of a co-defendant, and I said, you've got to tell me, first of all, you can't hear in the jail he's in, but he also talks very low, and I'm like, look, I can't hear anything. You're going to have to point it out to me if there's something in this video that you have a different thing to say. And he's like, stop. I didn't go to the second location for the attempted M where the shots were fired. And I was like, okay. I said, do you understand that your phone can tell me whether you are telling me the truth or not? And he said, find my phone. Where's my phone? And I said, did you have it on you when you were arrested? And he said, yeah. And he's like, I guess it's in my property. I said, no, law enforcement has it. The state has it. Well, state doesn't want to give us the phone. They didn't extract the phone. This is the difference between this kid looking at like 20 to 30 years maybe versus having that charge dropped. He's 15 years old. He's like, I don't know what I was thinking. That was incredibly stupid. He is truly remorseful, regretful. He's just like, I can't believe that I actually, he's selling me a story that I believe. And I'm jaded. It's getting harder and harder for you to tell me a story that I'm going to believe. So, I said, you have to be 100% sure, because if you are not telling me the truth, then this will 100% prove you were there. Whereas it could, if you are telling me the truth, it could drop that charge completely. I don't know if the attorney would have caught that, not because the attorney is bad, but I don't know that that particular attorney is actually a very good attorney, was very, very smart, but I don't know if he would have asked the exact same question, which is point out to me in the video of this interrogation of something that isn't sitting right with you. and this kid did, and now we're fighting with the state to get the phone, to get an expert to extract the phone, to get this charge dropped for this kid, and it's like, that makes me angry that I've actually got someone, and the state wants to, my word is going to be, persecute him for something he didn't do. Okay, tangent, sorry. Do I only do Tampa or anywhere in Florida? I can work anywhere in the state of Florida. We do not have, we do not play nicely with others. So if you are a licensed attorney in Florida or a licensed investigator, we don't have reciprocity with anyone. So like there would have to be some link to Florida, and I would have to get special permission to work as an investigator in another state. There's same thing with a lawyer. What do I do when I strongly believe the client is not being truthful? Oh, you mean like every single day? It depends. Maybe we need an "it depends" emoji. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I call them out on it, like not nicely. Sometimes I just gently prod and say, I show them that this is not what the evidence shows. This is not what you're telling me is not going to line up with what the state is going to present to the jury. So maybe you want to rethink that. I am backing off to a big extent on my interactions with the clients for the most part. So the case that just went to trial, that is like the last, well, no, I guess the one that's coming up set for December 1, that's been around for so long, that's sort of the last one where I really and truly know the defendant. Like I've been seeing him over the years for so very long. And then I've got one that's going to go back for a retrial, but I'm trying to distance myself more and more, because I don't know. I just think it's a better way to go. And I'll go out and show discovery and do the things that I'm supposed to do. I'll go looking for whatever I'm supposed to look for, but I'm leaving it now more to the attorneys to figure out how they want to deal with the defendant. Why do inmates get so many appeals? It seems to be unlimited. Cindy, it is not. It is not unlimited. Okay, let me try to think. This means we have to go back to con law. Criminal procedure. It's not. Okay, so for certain levels, for certain cases, there's an automatic appeal. So capital DP cases, automatic right to appeal. Oh, and in the case of, I have had this one person who waived his right to the guilt phase of a DP jury trial also waived his right to appeal, but now I can't remember. Something has showed up in the appellate docket. It is limited, and I have had courts that say, so the state may only pay for one appeal depending on the charge. After that, you're on your own. And so a lot of appeals that you'll see come in will be $38.50. So ineffective assistance of counsel. The jailhouse lawyers go to work, and then you can sometimes see, for example, we had when Marcy's Law went to in effect, which was meant to protect victims, all the people who had been sentenced to anything flooded the appellate courts with Marcy's Law appeals. And it's like, that's not even applicable to you. I've worked on post-conviction cases where, they don't have anything else to do, so they will pro se on their own file any appeal they can think of, but the courts will sanction. So let's say you were sentenced to 30 years, and if you continue to file frivolous appeals, once you've exhausted the ones that it goes by statute, right? You can't just appeal any old thing, and an appeal is not a do-over. It doesn't mean you get a new trial. What it means, like for instance, I'm just going to go ahead and use this last case, which was the first degree capital M, premeditated, and all 5 of them, they were all charged with, it was a 6-count indictment. They were all charged with a number of different things, but they all were found guilty of every charge. So it's based upon law or statute. An appeal is a right to review the record. It's not a do-over of the trial. And they're looking for, and hopefully I'm remembering correctly, I want to say it's fundamental error, which means an error that could have substantially changed the outcome of a case. And I've had that actually happen, where a defendant was convicted of 2 counts of first degree capital M. They had taken the DP off the table because our legislature was in the middle of changing its mind. Again, right now you don't need 12 jurors to convict, which blows my mind, but okay. So anyway, they had taken the DP off the table, so it was just capital. He was facing life. And so we filed the notice of appeal, and the record went to the appellate attorney. And what had happened was the state had a jailhouse snitch testify. And we had a jailhouse snitch we wanted to testify. So they sent the jury out. They had the witness come in and do a proffer in front of the judge, or voir dire. I don't know what the one year. Oh my God. Judge got a preview of the testimony. Judge said, we're not going to let this come in for the defense. The jailhouse snitch is not coming in. So the appellate attorney argued in writing, because it is for the most part, it very rarely goes to oral arguments. It's a written process. The appellate attorney found that was prejudicial error, right? It could have affected the outcome of the case. And so the Second District Court of Appeals, which is the appellate court for my circuit, agreed and said, yeah, that was prejudicial, and it could have affected the outcome of the case, and overturned it and sent it back for a retrial. And when we retried it, we got not guilty, but not for that reason. It was on some other things, although our guy was allowed to testify. So it is not unlimited, Cindy, but I can't give you a recitation off the top of my head as to the appeals that you are allowed to have. And in Florida, some things have come up, like if you were sentenced for a crime that you committed as a juvenile to life, then you had the possibility of coming back up for resentencing, but that's not necessarily an appeal. That was more of like an application process. I've had a couple of post-conviction cases. The state doesn't pay for those. Have I ever refused to work with someone? I've turned down cases. I have gotten into full-on arguments with defendants. I've been asked to not work on that case anymore, i.e. fired, which has been fine with me. I mean, some of them are just really, you have a hard time even knowing that they're there for what they're accused of. And again, like, I believe in the presumption of innocence because that's the standard I want for myself. And that's the standard you should want for yourself and for your family members. So just because they're in jail waiting trial does not necessarily mean that they're guilty. Don't take the question away so fast. I lose my train of thought. Um, so the answer is it's not usually a person, like a defendant, although sometimes there's a mutual dislike. And so I continue to work on the case, but I only deal with the lawyer and not the client so much. It just depends. Like, I evolve as a person. The cases are all different. Um, you know, I might not be the best suit. I'm going to go and be interviewed by a top defense attorney here in Tampa that I know he's a top defense attorney here in Tampa. I don't know that I particularly want to work for him. I don't know that I'm best suited for him. I don't know that I will be sad if he never hires me. I will take the meeting. I was recommended by another attorney. I will not look like this when I go in there. There are different investigators that are better suited to different things. So I'm not former law enforcement. I have a law school education. That makes me different. I'm better suited sometimes to complex cases with a lot of information because I process a lot of information. So I end up with some crazy federal stuff that isn't very interesting, but it will make your brain hurt a lot. Have I ever had a case that involved a not guilty reason of insanity plea? Okay, so no, but there are different standards. There's competency, which is competency to stand trial, and that's at the trial phase, or the trial level, I should say. And so I have had, like, the one that's supposed to seat a jury in December. He was sent away for 90 days because he was initially found not competent to stand trial. That could have been drug withdrawal. I don't know. His competency was restored and he was returned. I've never had anybody. Hold on. No, I've never had anybody try to take that plea, but I do have a lot of them try to say, oh, I was diagnosed with bipolar and ADHD and depression. And it's like, okay, yeah, so like most of us have some form of something, and that doesn't make us go out and do bad things. So you don't get to rely on that as a defense for something. Have I ever had to work for someone who is defending them? Yes, and a sovereign citizen at that. And the only reason that this state paid for that was because that was a DP case. And boy, was that a fun 5 years of my life? That was a long time. And that was like taking my common sense and 3 years of law school and however many years I had worked at the law office, which I did before I became an investigator. It's kind of how I found out about the job I have now. That was taking everything and putting it in a blender. And I used to I'd go online, pull like legal materials, laying out like the rules, and take that. And finally, I said to the attorney, I was like, you need to take me to the jail because I'm not doing this anymore. Because I was getting like these 25-page letters. Maybe sometime we'll do a member stream about that case, because you can watch the sentencing on YouTube. And my dad said that he wrote me this defendant, he wrote me the best reference letter anyone could ever ask for, which is true. I had written to him and to say I was leaving the law office because I had dealt with him so frequently and intensely for so many years. I became like the archivist for this man's writings. And so I'd written to him to tell him I was leaving the office, because he was so used to dealing with me. And he wrote back care of the law office. And it really is a great letter. But I don't know that it's one that I would want to use. Maybe. How do I feel about so much mandatory sentencing and no parole? Um, I have some issues with it sometimes. I understand it to an extent, but I have mixed feelings about it. So in Florida, for anyone who doesn't know, we don't have parole here. We have game time and we have probation. So if you're not sentenced to life, life is life in Florida. You will do day for day, every day till the end of your life. If you're sentenced to something less than life, for every, I believe, 4 good days you do where you're not in trouble, you get a day knocked off. So you end up doing 85% of your sentence. And I believe that also, like participation in programs and doing certifications and things like that might also help. But you'll never go in front of a parole board. So you'll never hear somebody in Florida be eligible for parole. A lot of the deals we get will be like 10 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 10 years out, which means 10 years of supervised probation. And probation can be very strict. And I've had people say, I'm not taking probation, I'll do my time, because they know they're going to violate for whatever reason. And if you violate the rules of your probation, whatever the maximum you could have done will be what you end up doing. It took me a while to wrap my head around that, because my brain's approach to a lot of things is almost dyslexic in a way. So if I put something together, I'll put it together backwards before I put it together correctly. And I had a lot of trouble understanding legal concepts until I saw them put into practice. And even then, it took me a while. And sometimes I still am confused and I'm still asking, wait, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't have to understand. I'm not the lawyer. I made the choice not to be a licensed attorney and instead chose the role I'm in now, for which I do have a license. I'm just an oddball investigator that happens to also have a law degree because I had a midlife crisis. So you guys are asking good questions, and Squeegee's not been trolling me, and I appreciate that, sir. Have I had a client that I feared or actually hurt you? No. I've never had one that scared me. Well, I take that back. There was one that scared me, but not to an extent where I was afraid to be left in the room with him. So at the Hillsborough County Jail, which is the jail I frequent most often, which is here in Tampa, that I make no secret this is where I am. We have 2 jails. I don't have anybody at one. I don't know what they're doing with there being 2 jails. I know that the one that I don't have to go in or haven't been in years, I would love to roller skate in that one. It would be so fantastic. The one I go in now, they have a dedicated like professional visitation area. So we're given a room and the deputies are constantly circulating, and there's a panic button on the wall. In the Pasco County Jail, I would like to be face to face with someone because I'm supposed to be showing them something on my computer, right? I mean, all the body worn camera footage that comes in, or the ring cam surveillance footage, or recordings of interviews, whatever it may be. And they're putting us in rooms, yes, but with plexiglass and a phone I can't hear anything through. So I'm like lip reading and trying to listen and write things down at the same time, and it sucks and I hate it. But I didn't fear violence from this one person. I have never felt unsafe. I don't like being walked through like the pods or the dorms to be taken to a room. But at Falkenberg here, we don't have that issue anymore. And I think Pinellas is the only one that is making us do that now. And I don't like it. And they give me a panic button, and that's fine. But, it's just like, look at the ground. And, I go in my best gray middle-aged lady attire or whatever. I mean, I think the theme for my place in life right now is gray. My hair is gray. My cat is gray. My car is gray. Like the hat I wear is gray. Like I'm in a gray phase. Um, I try not to draw attention to myself, but no, I've never felt unsafe, but I do believe I've been in the presence of evil. And no, nobody has ever hurt me. Most of them or tried or uh, most of them are unbelievably respectful to me. Um, some of them I know for a fact would step between me and anybody who was trying to hurt me. My parents are in this chat and on this stream, and yes, I'm in my 50s, but there's nothing to worry about, I promise. So, what is the most damaging evidence that I have had to refute digital data, DNA, or eyewitness testimony? Well, if you go back and watch my video on eyewitness testimony, where my cat committed a vicious crime against me and you had to pick him out of a lineup, you will see that eyewitness testimony is not terribly reliable. So, most damaging, I think that I've said it before, it's digital now. It's digital because DNA, so many cases have been overturned on DNA. The reason we were able to get an acquittal on the second trial was because of DNA, because there wasn't any, right? And the state had argued that there was. And I spent a lot of time on the phone with the DNA guy and sent our investigators back to rephotograph and pulled all the old lab notes and bench notes and all these things. And it turned out there was no DNA. And that had the biggest impact. And this was a case from like 2011. So the digital stuff was only like they stopped using their phones at a certain time. Now the digital, I mean, digital is just, it's just a straight road to conviction because things are being caught on camera. It like what people don't realize is, okay, well, if you're in the presence of a Tesla, that is recording some 4K footage for you. You may have heard the David case right now where a young lady was found in the front trunk of a Tesla, but nobody has said anything about the footage from that Tesla. So I guess if it's in Sentry mode or something like that, it has 360-degree cameras. But Ring cameras, that is catching a ton of these kids who are just going up and down streets and like pulling on car doors or breaking into cars. And I've had a lot of that. And then the phones. Your phone is going to tell on you. Your phone is going to tell on you. The Walmart cameras, when you go shopping on the incident aisle for your supplies, either post or pre, they're going to get you. It's a digital trail. And I've actually got one right now. It's a federal case where the client says that his Gmail was hacked and that his banking information was used as part of a fraud and situation. It's amazing some of the things people come up with. Like oh, you're back. Hi. Don't bite me, okay? Anyway, I need to go talk to the client because the lawyer really believes that the kid was potentially hacked. I don't want to be bitten right now. And that would be interesting. And on the bank surveillance footage, it isn't him, right? I mean, the guy goes up and like presents himself to be this other person, but you can clearly see that it's not. And I've had surveillance camera actually help exonerate a person because even though you couldn't see their face, this kid, I deal with tons of teenagers, so when I'm saying kid, I really mean it. Yeah, you're fine. There's still food over there. Um, um, Free Henry. Chris, you're being really well behaved, and I do appreciate you because you can tell I'm tired, I think, or you've taken pity on me. Um, it's the digital stuff every single time right now until AI, right? And then who knows? It's going to be a free for all. I do not know if you are able to speak on this or not, but is it true about the tow truck has surveillance on a case? Have you heard of a surveillance from a tow truck as evidence? Yeah. So actually, I have a friend of mine who owns a tow company, and I told him to start putting dash cams in every truck he owned because um, tow trucks get in a lot of accidents. Mel says my beans looks to bite too. Very ungrateful, and yes, it's Henry. He's back. Um, oh, thank you, Squeegee. um, AI is like the land of make believe. They can't make it even cite case law properly. Not yet. Um, so, um, Alexis says she'll make note of the dual jury question and I can consult with attorney friend. Well, I know that Scotty has never seen a double jury because I've known Scotty ever since he's been a lawyer. Barry says you have state's attorneys in Connecticut too. Hi, therapist, Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. Do I own? Okay, so let's see. Did I run out of stars? Oh, thank you, Laura, for gifting 5 memberships. So I meant to do some little videos for you guys during the trial. I also meant to clean the camera on my laptop, and I didn't, but that's probably for the best for all of us. Because like we have preachers outside our courthouse with like amplified speakers. It's really interesting. If you like to people watch, courthouses are really interesting places to people watch. So I meant to do some little sort of like not in court obviously, but like going to trial, coming out of trial videos for you guys. And it just every day after court the family was waiting for me so they could ask me a gazillion questions. And in the mornings it's always a scramble to get to where you need to be. Let's see. So wow, 4 verdicts in 1 week. That's a lot. Yeah, I know that Aaron and Chris Trial TV Live, they work very, very hard, and I was speaking with them prior to coming on with you guys. Let's see. So Larry Powers, he says, yeah, but don't most attorneys try to plea deal a case because it's cheaper than going to trial? So I don't, all the attorneys I work for are private criminal defense attorneys in that they are not employed by the public defender's office. But they mostly work for the Justice Administration Commission, which is, and I say they work for, what I mean is that we're all vendors. We all have contracts, which means we agree to be court appointed and work for a certain amount of money on court appointed cases. And it's conflict counsel, right? So the public defender's office has a conflict. They go down the list of private defense attorneys who are 1, qualified, and 2, have a contract and have agreed to work for the JAC, which is the agency that funds Florida's entire public defense side. And so you're familiar. I know you, Larry, because you're writing a book about Sarah, that you are familiar with the JAC. And I talk about that whole how that works in a lot of my earlier streams. So my information on how that works is out there, and that's one of the things that brought me to YouTube was that people were outraged by the cost of Sarah's defense, which wasn't very expensive at all. In the case of the drill rapper Queso that was just tried in Jacksonville, they spent over $100,000 on the 3D kinetic imaging that they used, which I also did a stream on because I've never seen anything like it, and I thought it was fascinating. And by the way, he got sentenced to life, which he needed to be sentenced to life. Legal-minded friends, Karen Cole says, I think you're talking about me using critical thinking. I appreciate that. Have I interviewed defendants that were frightening, like you wanted to get away quickly and never see again? Yes. Okay, so a long time ago, I did a co-stream, I think, or it may have been before I could co-stream, but Squeegee did, Trial TV Live did State of Florida versus Trevor Summers. I could not stand Trevor Summers. He was one of the slimiest people I have ever been in the presence of. I wasn't afraid of him. He just, ugh. And then there was a young man who did something very, very heinous and had a very entitled attitude and said, well, if you do something very, very heinous before you're 21, you should only have to do 10 years and then get out and have a family. I got fired from that case, and I'm not sad that I did, and I'm not sad about any of the things I said to that kid either. Although I don't normally lose my temper the way that I did, but that kid's attitude was just beyond. And then there was another one with the coldest, deadest eyes ever, who was also an enormous liar. And he didn't want me to come back because I called him out on his BS, and that was fine with me. I didn't want to go back. So, like, I get paid whether I go face to face with them or not. I can sit here behind a computer and never cross paths with them because my job is, because of digital, everything because of tech, it's data. I'm just looking, I bought an 18 terabyte drive. I have 2 iPhones. I have 2 iPads. I have 2, 3, 4 computers. I have 4 printers, and I found one in the trash that works. It's great. Okay, so more icky. One that you knew for sure he was a complete total psychopath. Yeah, so Trial TV Live is going to stream my upcoming trials. You may never see me again. Like I said, that was a fluke that I ended up in next to a camera and spent 9 days on court TV. I was less than thrilled. Let's see. How do I feel? Okay, we got through that. I need to scroll down. Sorry. You guys are doing such a great job. Hi, Aussie Gardner. Welcome. Oh, and you got gifted a membership by Laura, Interesting Captures. So in case you guys don't, hey, Mel, it's been a moment. I think you showed up last time. So I keep talking about Trial TV Live, but Legal Minded Friends Karen Cole also has a channel. And my friend and mod, Laura, Interesting Captures, she also has a channel. So I have just collaborated very frequently with Trial TV Live. And like I said, I was talking to them before I came on here. So all of you guys that have channels, definitely, I think we put, for most of the time, I think we have links to everybody's channel like in my descriptions. So, but yeah, I am backfeeding them Tampa trials to stream whether I'm involved in them or not. So the defendant that I had for Sunny Bell, he was 22 at the time. He is 26 now. Yeah. Oh, so Kelly, you went to Laura's channel and saw Jeremy DeWitt. We were all deprived of the that he pled. I haven't, because this has been a very brutal couple of weeks for me. Um I I haven't I just saw uh Laura's post that he took a plea. I didn't even read the plea. So yes, Laura is amazing, and I am grateful to have her and Kelly and Alexis and Aaron and Chris as friends. I never thought I would be able to come on a platform like YouTube, even though I wanted to for a very long time. And Tanika, I just haven't talked to her in a minute. Um, and make like friends that I talk to, like in real life, even if we've not been in the same space. Um, so um, yes, I would 100% shout out all of my mods. And you may think, for such a small channel, such a small chat, why does she need so many mods? Um, One is because somebody needs to keep me somewhat on track, and two, this is very sensitive stuff that I talk about, and three, not everybody's available all the time. Everybody's in different time zones. And four, very early on, I had someone sort of storm my chat who freaked me out because I was like, I don't know you from any of the other channels of my friends. And it Aaron knocked him off, but then I communicated with him afterwards, and he's like, I just wanted you to know this information. And I'm like, okay, well, coming to a tiny, and at the time, I mean, I'm not a big channel. I have 1,000 subscribers, 1,090. But at the time it was really little. And I was like, you don't like coming to a tiny, tiny channel of a person with a tiny, tiny chat and like doing what you did is not the way to draw attention to your cause. Communicate with me. If there's something I could do for you, I will. So, but I have all these beautiful, wonderful people who I appreciate so very, very much. And sometimes I am my own worst nightmare when it comes to one, going off track, two, getting the tech to work correctly, um, and just existing. So, let's see. Yeah, they are great, and they facilitate. I'm caught up in the presenting of whatever I want to present, um, and everybody contributes. I'm really super grateful for the support that I've had. Like I said, I this is a small channel. I don't expect we're going to grow because I don't have the time to put into it to grow over the next couple of months. I'm okay with that. And I did want to talk about this briefly, which is, it's going to depend a lot on, I'm calling him Judge God right now because he's sort of holding the balance of my life and a whole bunch of other people's in the air, because I don't know if my trial um, for the 29th is going to be continued or not. We didn't know that he was going to sever the defendants until he did. Then there was talk about pushing out the one in December, and that's been 7 years, and that makes me really angry. And then if it does that, then we're running into the April Julio Fulio, and that's 3 DP cases right in a row. And I don't have anything to do with second phase, which is mitigation. I'm the fact investigator, so I work on the front end with first phase counsel, but I work in other counties for other attorneys, and I've got, I think, 2, potentially 3 federal cases. I know I have 2 federal cases and maybe a third one coming. I've got a private one for a county I've never been to. So it's the stress of it is figuring out what to pay attention to, and the prosecution has been allowed to just continually give us discovery up until the day and the night before, and it's ridiculous because it's terabytes worth of information. And as the investigator, that kind of falls into my purview. Like I said, I feel less like an investigator sometimes and a whole lot more like an analyst. Um, and that's fine, right? Like Nancy Drew doesn't exist anymore because of the digital age. And Squeegee, I saw your question about the Grateful Dead and Taylor Swift, and you picked 1969, which was before I was born. So I'm gonna go with the Eras tour, although I did enjoy the 16 Grateful Dead shows that I did get to see when I was about 16, 17, 18. Um, I have a few mods because everybody helps in different ways. This is very true. And I do appreciate all the support. Laura's going to help out with some editing. Um, Alexis helps me in a whole bunch of different other ways. Kelly has got some very great experience and research and says hi and welcomes people for now, but that's important. And Leah still is with us. She's at Taylor Swift's little movie thing tonight. So not everybody's, around. What would be my island musical group top 5? Oh God, I don't know. It would just depend. Like I was telling you earlier, I've seen everybody from the Grateful Dead to The Cure to Neil Diamond to Taylor, Madonna, um, Tina Turner with Lionel Richie opening, which was amazing. So, um, yeah, so Ozzy Gardner, thank you for joining us. And you can definitely always check out the replay. And for anybody that, hey, C. Morales, welcome. Anybody that is on replay, please remember to hit like, maybe think about subscribing. I did want to say, I see the comment, Alexis, give me 1 second before you take it down. I did want to say that I am different than I see a lot of creators on YouTube, which are like, hey, so 75% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed to me. I'm upside down. 75% of the people who watch my videos are my subscribers. So thank you so very much for subscribing, for staying subscribed and coming back. I do appreciate that very much, especially because I don't post a lot of content because like I was saying, my work is sort of it ebbs and flows, right? There's always crimes being committed. There's always cases coming, but sometimes there's big gaps and delays in discovery and we're waiting on the state. And then sometimes trials are stacking. It just depends. So what I'm expecting in the next couple of months is I will not be going back to every week the way I was when I started this channel almost a year ago. I'm going to stay at every other week with the caveat that it depends on what's going on. I'm hoping that my little team of moderators can help me to sort of dice up some of the prior streams and we can get some stuff pushed out to you guys. I'm hoping I remember to do some spur of the moment shorts. I always think, oh, I don't want to do that because I'm sitting here looking like how well I look like this on the daily, so like what do I care? I'm going to try to be better about doing shorter things. I don't know that I'm going to be able to. I really like doing preparing stuff to show to you guys that I haven't seen anywhere else. And Mal, I appreciate you so very much for saying that I have a very unique insight and expertise that no one else does on YouTube. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Sometimes I have fun ideas and we just get to laugh, like the eyewitness cat video, which just came to me spur of the moment. Sometimes I plan and I research and I work very hard to put something together for you. I'm thinking about, I want to do something on RICO, the racketeering, corrupt, whatever, or criminal racketeering, influence, corrupt, or criminal organization. I don't even remember. I can never remember the acronym, but I don't know, because I am obsessed with pop culture and I work in criminal defense, we're seeing a lot of street gangs be charged as RICO organizations now. and music labels if you follow any of the pop culture world. Um, and I get RICO cases. I've had some. So, but that's one that like I need to put it together on paper because I can't remember the stuff off the top of my head the way a lot of people can. Oh, thank you, Karen. I appreciate you. Karen said your honesty and no drama is refreshing. I appreciate you. Susan says yes, please. I am guessing to the Rico, maybe. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you. I appreciate you. Um, oh yeah, I know Laura. Laura's already got like 9 clips ready and stuff, and um I haven't had a chance to even go through that. Because they dropped 167-page proffer on us the other day, and the attorney was like, "Can I have a summary of that by tomorrow?" Yeah, sure. And luckily for me, one, I read really fast, but two, I stumbled across an app I was using on my iPad that actually enabled us to take um, uh, my highlights, right, and excerpt them and arrange them into a document with the citations. It saved a gazillion hours. So like I was able to do part of it, and then my assistant was able to do part of it, and it was it was a very, very happy accident. But I must have worked like 35 to 40 hours in the course of a few days. This is beyond the trial. This is on the cases upcoming. So Laura's put together some stuff for me to review, and I haven't even gotten to it. I'm just so um it can be a lot because I've always got to be thinking down the down the road a little bit, right? And then you think you're ready, you think you're prepared, and then boom, here comes some jail calls, or here comes a proffer, or here comes whatever. Oh, we got transcripts of those interviews. That's fantastic. I'm so glad that I sat here and watched 20 hours worth of body camera from 4 different cops in the same room. Like, I'm thrilled, really thrilled that I did that. So it can be a lot, but like I said, it ebbs and flows. So the content is going to wax and wane, I guess is the best I can say. And I love being here. I thought about pulling the plug on the channel because it's like I don't want it to wither and die, but I also know that I can't expect it to grow if I'm not here. And so I've just decided that we're going to play it by ear. It took me 5 years to get up the nerve to be here. So, and a lot of people worked really hard to get me to the 1,000 subscribers that we're at. And I don't want to throw that away. And I love talking to you guys. Sometimes I look nice for you. Sometimes I do not. Sometimes you see me on court TV. Sometimes you do not. So we're gonna play it by ear, and I've gotten to do some great collaborations. If you didn't check out the video with Laura, interesting captures, you should do that. It's the growing up with Gacy. Growing up with Gacy. I've done a number of collabs with Trial TV Live, with the Squeegee of Justice, Chris, who I asked him because they streamed the trial. I asked him to come on, and we didn't like pre-script the questions or anything like that. He sent me some points that he wanted me to discuss. I didn't use any attorney-client privilege information. Everything we took was from the public domain. But I was able to talk about being at the trial, and for me, you know, it at least shows you that I do what I say that I do, and that I am who I say that I am. I am an investigator who did go to law school, who does work on these crazy cases, and not everybody on YouTube is doing the thing they portray themselves to be doing. So at least now, like, the proof is out there, and as Laura says, she's got the screenshots to prove it. So Yeah. I gave you great gams. I gave you the peace sign, and somebody's got a screenshot of it. I might have a screenshot of it because I told you that's what I was going to do. I wasn't going to wink at the camera. I said, I'll give you this. I'll give you the peace sign. So there's a screenshot of me doing this, and somebody said, it almost looks like you were giving a peace sign. I was like, yes, I was shouting you guys out. The channel can be my mental health break that I need to make myself take. I really enjoy getting to talk about this stuff, and I very much like I I've gotten some private messages and some emails from people who have said that they've learned a lot, and that's my goal, right? I'm not here to persuade you that guilty people are innocent. I just want you to understand I want you to have open eyes about the system, about the process. I'd never set foot in a jail before, or a courtroom, or even known anybody who'd been arrested. I think until I was in college, maybe. I don't know. Like that's not you know, I'm not the realm of law enforcement or the streets or anything like that. I can't wink at I can't wink at a camera. Do you not see my shot from the front of this from this week's thumbnail where I'm like scowling? I think that's pretty much my permanent I have the resting bee face. Karen Cole has a channel out of the UK. She says, I read my case evidence using the microphone to text, great for summary and preparing an index to find quickly. I read fast, and reading connected to some form of writing, which is why I type really fast. I learned touch typing in high school. Yeah, I always look mad. Guys always used to say, you should smile. You need to, why aren't you smile? Why don't you smile? Because people like you ask me stupid questions like that. Have I ever had a case where the evidence traumatized me? I never, ever, ever look at autopsy pictures. Ever. Because I just can't. I would say that all of the evidence is traumatizing on some level, to some extent. Some crime scene photos will stay with you forever and ever, no matter how quickly you look at them. People think that, oh, I would love to be able to see all of the stuff. No, 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 you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't, because it's always going to be there. It will never, ever, ever go away. And people don't need to carry that kind of imagery around in their heads. And then recently we had um, a, a child abuse case, and the sound of the so it this was an infant, and it was not being like hit or thrown or anything like that, but she was screaming in pain. And I am not a person who ever wanted children. I don't do well with like little children. I have a cat that I cannot control that tries to kill me on the daily. So for me to like audibly gasp and to be so very much affected by the sound, even I know the sound that that child was making was not, I'm hungry, or I need a diaper changed, or I don't like being on this airplane. That did not go away for a couple of weeks. And I only ever went and met her one time, and I did not attend her trial. Yeah, I would agree about Koberger being pretty traumatizing. Kay Talley. Let's see. Mel says, I've learned so much from you, Sam. That's what makes your channel so interesting. There are so many people covering trials, and many are very good, but you and your sharing here is different. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not the lawyer breaking down the arguments, and there are very good lawyers on there doing that. But I have learned so much in the job that I have. And it was, watching coverage of cases I had worked on that sort of was the final push, like go talk to people and tell them how it really is, because I hate misinformation so much. I really do. Great Game says, I'm not squeamish. I need to see everything so I can learn. Okay. Um, I am, and I just can't stand to see some of that stuff. Kate Tellycoat Love. I saw folio photos, and I'm okay with not seeing it. Yeah, that not pretty. So, yeah, okay. Does anybody else have any questions? I think I didn't wander off too far, right? Maybe just a little bit, which is a good thing. So, yeah, the pictures are real people. That's the thing. They are real people. And sometimes I need to look at them, and sometimes I don't. And I don't need to. Everybody thinks that the curiosity that you want to know until you know, and then you're like, I wish I didn't want to know in the first place. Um, yeah, so Laura makes a really good point. Excavation video with Gacy on her channel is crazy. Um, thank you, Kelly. Who are most of my clients as a PI? They are criminal defendants who are indigent. Hi, Afton. My goodness, it's been a moment since we saw you. TY, so it looks like Toyotas, but it's not. TYO Toys. Um, I talk a lot about what I do and all of that sort of in my earlier streams as I'm introducing myself to the world. Um, yeah, so yeah, Kelly, I hope your mom is okay. Thank you for being here. Let me know. Thank you guys. I know that my last two streams have been like super intense. So thank you for having questions to ask. And as of right now, I will plan to see you not next weekend, but the following one. And I'll let you know one way or another. Um, I want to thank everyone who has been here for almost a year. We'll figure out what the anniversary of that is. And thank you if you're new. I appreciate you checking it out. Please share the channel. Don't forget, I have a Ellen Greenberg playlist, and so if the Hulu docuseries has you hooked, please come check that out. I lost a lot from YouTube, not money wise, but just like gain time, if you will. So thank you guys so much. And if you're on Replay Crew or you're a lurker, just you can always give us a wave and a thumbs up. And yeah, I hope I'll see you again. Please be safe out there in the world. And thank you guys for always being super respectful and fantastically engaged. And thank you, Chris, for not trolling me tonight. I do appreciate it very much. All right. So I will see you guys soon. And thank you again. And yes, Henry is free. And thank goodness he didn't bite me. All right, you guys. I appreciate you very much. Be safe.